Welcome to Next Wave Conversations, brought to you by the Innovate GPT Group. My name is Chris Lukianenko and I'm your host. And joining me today is Georgegina Poulos, Director of gamma3 Consulting. With a career that has seen her redefine HR and organisational strategies at giants like Jacuba and T2T, Georgina brings a blend of strategic insight and a unique flair for infusing fun into corporate culture. Today, we'll explore how she's pioneering innovations in HR that merge serious strategy with playful engagement and how this approach not only enhances workplace environments, but also drives effective business outcomes. Get ready to dive into a conversation about strategic innovation in HR, blending creativity with functionality right here on Next Wave Conversations. Done. That was a long intro. Chat GPT. Welcome aboard, Georgina.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm very excited.
I'm excited for this because, as you know, you and I had a bit of a 20-minute phone conversation back in the start of organising this chat, and I think we could have gone on and on and on. So our challenge today is going to be to stick to the time limit and try and get through everything we've got to get through with a couple of people that obviously love a chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Time is on.
Are you up for the challenge?
I'm up for the challenge.
I've invited you on here because I want to discuss generative AI in the world of human resources or HR. Am I allowed to call it HR?
You are allowed
I
to
am
call
allowed
it
to call
HR?
it like, okay, that's good because I wasn't sure if I had to say people and culture or was that
The cool kids call it
Oh, is that what
but
it is? Okay, yeah.
We're
yeah.
old school today.
Yeah.
We can call it HR.
And I just want to let everybody know how much of an expert you are in this field. Like you have got a great career. I was doing my in-depth research, of course, and
Did you just Google me?
pretty much, yeah. But you know, global roles at Unilever, T2, and Jacuba. Is that how you?
Jacuba, yep.
Jacuba, is it? Yeah. Sister, you have been absolutely killing it. Tell us about your career today, because that's pretty impressive.
I have been super lucky to land some
No,
amazing
you're not allowed to
roles.
say lucky.
Oh, no?
Fortunate.
Fortunate. Okay,
Fortunate.
I've been super fortunate.
Don't believe in luck.
To land some really amazing roles, and my time definitely at T2/Unilever was career defining, and I had a blast there in a global role. So I double-hatted for about 3-4 years, where I looked after T2 globally, and I also had a retail Unilever portfolio. So that kept me super busy with teams in the US, Italy, France, the Netherlands, the UK,
all the time
Singapore.
zones.
Yeah.
Difficult.
And Australia always got the crappiest time zone.
Yep.
But that's okay. I really loved it there, and it was an
I
awesome
feel like
time.
there's only so much time you can spend in that situation where you're working within 3 times. I've done it myself as well, and you know, I know the 5 a.m. call for one time zone and the 5 p.m. call for another time zone, and then working your day job. You've got to really put your all into that sort of thing, don't you?
Yeah, you do the day shift and then you do the night shift. But I loved it.
Did you?
And I missed the complexity of
okay.
global organisations.
Yep.
I think when you work in HR, and as long as I have, the problems are similar day to day, org to org.
Yep.
But the complexity that comes with global, I find that really exciting.
I was actually having a chat with a friend, Paul, from Ireland earlier this week, and it was 5 p.m. my time, 8 a.m. his time, and I was like, oh, mate, I forgot about all these conversations we used to have a couple of years ago where we had to juggle it around, you having a coffee with your breakfast while I might be having a beer at the end of the day. It was kind of a weird thing, but certainly a great way to learn about organisations operating in 3 time zones.
An amazing way to learn about organisations. And I really did learn so much.
Yeah, nice.
Culture.
Tell us everything. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, exactly. How long have we got?
So we're here to talk about generative AI in the HR space. What about personally? Have you been dabbling with ChatGPT and those sorts of things?
I have, and I reckon it's been about 12 months consciously. I think like most, it's been around for a while and we've been using it without really knowing about it. But purposefully using it, I would say about 12 months.
Okay, that's good. You've actually been going probably longer than I have. I've ramped up very quickly in the last 6 or 7, but hadn't really done much of it before, and I just had this epiphany moment that was like, oh, wow, I think I need to get onto this thing, and then all of a sudden here's the next stage of my career. Here I am using it day to day and trying to build things out of it. So well done. You're a
early adapter.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe. Let's look at it from the HR perspective, because I guess that one of the biggest issues around in that space is fear. You know, as AI continues to evolve, there's this growing concern amongst employees about job security.
Mm-hmm.
In your career, how do you choose to address that type of fear real or otherwise, with employees?
So I think it'd be naive of me to say that jobs won't be lost. I think that's the
Yeah, I
first
think
thing.
so.
There is
Yeah.
an element of jobs that will be lost. But I think whenever you're digitalizing anything, whether it's a new system or a process or using AI to add value to work, there's a new skill set that comes with
I
that.
like that.
And it frees up this time that was non-value add into really value add time. So for example,
Agree. Yep.
let me spend, all my time inputting data into an Excel spreadsheet. Well, the minute the data goes into the Excel spreadsheet, it's dead. But now if I use a system, the data's already in there, I can spend my time analysing that.
Yep.
And it adds more value to the organisation.
Yep.
So I think that using AI in particular, there's that real sense of how it can add value. But there are some skills that AI can never replace. Collaboration.
Yep.
Empathy,
Yes.
those real meaningful skills that organisations are looking for right
Mm-hmm.
now, you've got more time to build those up and be a really rounded individual in the workplace.
Yeah. We often talk about augmenting your current skills. Let the computers do the computer stuff, the humans do the human stuff, and you become a better you, can you not?
Yeah.
I think
And new roles will be created.
Yeah.
I mean, the prompt engineer is actually the fastest growing role in organisations today.
Yeah.
It's
crazy, isn't it?
We had the analyst, we had the salesperson, whatever it's been.
Yep.
This is the new wave of skills that are required.
Yeah. And I've said this so many times before, a lot of people are talking about ChatGPT becoming the new Microsoft Excel on your resume.
100%.
Yeah.
And if you can use it smartly, I think it can add a lot of value.
Yeah, I think so. So do you yourself, I think the answer to the question is no, that you don't, but do you personally fear it, or are you pretty comfortable with it?
No, I don't fear it at all.
No, that's great.
I know how it can add value to my work. And one of the great things that I heard just recently is, we're all learning at the same time because of the pace
of AI. Yes.
That we're all in it together. So even though I may have dabbled with it 12 months ago, the rate of how it's progressing, we're all on this journey together.
Yep.
It just means I might have less fear than somebody else. So one, I really love that. But the second thing is that we are all creators. That's what AI really invokes and enables for everyone to be, is a creator. And imagine that in workplaces where we can actually spend time creating rather than procrastinating.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. Picking up on that, we are all in this together. That was the COVID song, I think, from memory, from Ben Lee. But now it's got a positive spin because we are all in this together with this learning along this. Like, I'm learning stuff every single day from people older than me, younger than me, from, across
it's
the
not discriminating.
It is not. It is just amazing that, somebody has another way to utilize this technology. I was talking to a friend recently. He's got this thing that allows him to choose his clothing. Oh. He talked about putting a photograph of his clothes together and describing his style and his age and what he likes to do. And ChatGPT says we'll use those shorts with that T-shirt.
Oh, we got a lookbook.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was weird. I still haven't been able to work out how to do that myself. I've done the recipe one myself with the pantry, but I haven't tried to do this. But every day there's something new that's coming out with how we can leverage this technology. And I just love it. It's very exciting. In your world, how do you think we can build an organizational culture that embraces AI and then and that try and use my words, and technological change positively?
So be upfront.
Yep.
So leaders need to be walking the talk and embrace what some of those fears that they might have around it.
Yes.
And then that kind of blends into governance.
Aha.
So,
Yep.
HR, the badge, the sheriff, if you like. There does need to be some governance, particularly if you're not using your own. So if the organisation is using an outsourced version or a free version, etc., then I do think there need to be some guardrails around what's the type of data that you're using and putting into it.
As opposed to a company that I was working in a little while ago when I first started doing this stuff, saying, you're not allowed to use that. That's illegal. It's like, oh, hold on a second. No. I understand that there's some fear there, but you can't just completely shut it off.
Well, people are going to use it anyway.
They will, won't they?
So you might as well have some protection around.
Yeah, we're all naughty at heart.
No personal data, no financial data, no IP, etc. to protect yourselves. And I think that is probably really super important in organisations. But I think probably more broadly in the system itself, there probably needs to be some governance around AI and how it's used.
And on that, it's probably just like an information type session,
Mhm.
or it's all about learning, building the knowledge. Like, did you realise that if you did put in that personal data or whatever in ChatGPT, it's out there now. It's out there. So
That's right.
maybe think twice. It's sort of maybe rather than the big stick approach, it's like, okay, this is what this thing can do. This is how it can help you. But also just remember that you've got to be a little bit clever about what you put into it.
Yeah, it's like a social media policy.
Yep.
It's the same type
Perfect.
of stuff.
Perfect.
So I think, for me, that's that. But going back to your question around how do we get people to embrace it? Well, it's a change management process.
Yep.
Right? It's not a system. It's not a tool. It's a behavioural change. How do we get people to think differently about it and embrace it to say, actually, this can add value to the work that I do and ultimately the customers that I serve?
Yeah, I like that. I like it. Very HR.
Very HR.
Well done. What about on the other side with training? So
Yep.
there's an education process. You talked about prompt engineers being the fastest growing job title, that sort of thing. We as organisations have to help our people get there because potentially they can't just do it on their own. Do you feel like there's an element of, okay, yes, we've got to set the rules, we've got to educate them, and then we've got to really teach them how to use this as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I think some of that could be from the teams themselves.
Yep.
Leveraging, I used it for this really helped me, and using those success stories.
Yep.
Again, if we're thinking about it from a change perspective, if I can learn from you and hear your stories, well, that's going to make it more relatable and easier to use. Then you get more buy-in and then it continues. But I think the organisation does have a responsibility to provide a space for people to have fun with it.
Yep.
I did read recently that a third of Australian organisations aren't using AI and don't have an intent to use that. And then when you think about that compared to our American colleagues, where it's about 75% of knowledge workers are using it, we're going to fall behind. We're not going.
Yep.
It's going to harness our ability to be competitive, to actually maybe work globally, to build up skill sets. We really will be behind.
Yeah, we've been talking a bit about mega trends around the office, and that, like, obviously this seems to be one of them. You can choose to put your head in the sand and not worry about it, or you can choose to at least embrace it and dabble in it and that sort of thing. I think it's quite naive for those companies that you're talking about that just like say, nah, I'm going to put my head in the sand. Nah, I'm not going to have a crack at it.
You're going to fall behind.
You will. And then what do you do? Like you're going to be playing catch up forever. And at the speed that this thing is moving, wow, that's a huge risk to take, isn't it?
Not only are you going to fall behind competitively from a services or a product perspective, well, who wants to work in a stagnated organisation? You're going to lose talent because these high performers, they want to make sure that they're adding value and they're using tools and tips and ways of working that actually helps them succeed. Yeah. So it's twofold. You're going to lose talent, but also customers potentially.
That brings back up the point of the retention of these, we're getting the prompt engineer into our company or we're building them up in our company. It's going to be a pretty highly sought after job external to your own company. What do you do to keep them? Like, because you can invest, and it's not a new problem, but you're investing in these people to become amazing at this new job. And then all of a sudden, oh no, see you later. Thanks for the education. I'm off out of here.
Yeah, it's
hard, isn't it?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
But what do you do to retain
it's
anyone?
It's not a new
Any
thing, is it? No, yeah.
And it's about the work environment that you're creating. So if you are in an innovative environment, creating an innovative culture and trusting people, but that's only one side, right? We still need them to be empathetic, collaborative, compassionate, really great leaders, all of those skills that you're not going to, AI might tell you how to be like that, but it won't make you like that.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to, I don't know, dream big about generative AI in your space and maybe some things that it could do to really, shift the industry or the organizations that you're working in? Like you've got that big data and you ingest it and then you produce something with it on the other side. I'm assuming that in your mind there might be a bit of a wrestle here between privacy and progress in a way. But have you had that opportunity to be able to just sort of sit down and think, oh, I really think this could change my working life in this way?
So for me, it's about all of the non-value add tasks.
Yep.
So I need a process for this, or I need a document for that. And that's all the easy stuff.
Yep.
But I think where it could get really exciting is the team member or the employee experience. Through
Nice.
from the moment we interact with them,
Yep.
through a job ad, say, to the time that we say farewell,
Yep.
that whole employee experience around learning and development and the onboarding and continual growth. I think that's super exciting, and it can be really fun and bite-sized and in a way that people want to engage. And that's how you retain really great people.
Yeah, beautiful. Have you started using it to write job ads and that sort of thing?
Not me personally, but I definitely can see when somebody has responded to a job ad using it. And I think,
with the opening letter.
Yeah, and I think it's okay as long as you tailor it and you still want your own voice to come through. Because the last thing you want to do is read, 100 cover letters that all sound identical. It adds no value. But if it can help you come up with an idea, or if it can help you write something in a way that's a little bit more concise, absolutely, knock yourself out.
Is that maybe telling you that job applicants maybe don't see value in writing a cover letter?
Well, I mean, how many of them do they read?
Yeah.
Like, how many times does an interviewer or a recruiter have to go through all of that stuff? But if you can stand out and make it fun and creative, then you can use it to your advantage. But you still need your own voice in it.
I remember back in the day when I was at, in the sort of more of the marketing space and graphic design and that sort of thing, creating my cover letter with all these colours on it, or people putting it in, on fluorescent yellow paper and all that sort of thing. Remember those little tricks? Yeah. I don't know if I ever used a photo, maybe not. I don't know, but maybe that's something that Gen AI can do, is help write that better cover letter that will cut through, rather than just being like a ticker box, perhaps.
Yeah, or it's the basis for it.
Yep.
So that you can still, interweave your personality, because I think that that's really important. Yep. Otherwise, I think the bias that the hiring manager will have is they've put no effort. They don't really want to work for us. They haven't researched our company, etc. So that's the flip of it, is that you just become another number, whereas I think the advantage of it is that, this gives me a really great framework. It saved me a whole heap of time from starting from scratch, but now I'm going to add the colour that'll make it pop, that shows who I am as a candidate.
So what are you and your your colleagues in the industry bodies and that sort of thing, what are they talking about as the biggest issues around generative AI?
So that is that we're not getting uniqueness coming through in the application process. Two, that people can go rogue, and what are they putting into it? And are we releasing, personal, private data? And two, I think this fear of, if these jobs are going to go, we're going to lose our workforce. And I think that's where they're getting stuck and not really embracing it, going, actually, why do you want all these people just inputting data and not being able to use the data? Why do you want people spending hours trying to write a stupid newsletter that nobody reads when it could be really interesting?
Sorry to all those corporate communications people out there. Everybody loves your newsletter.
We love them. But why do you want all this process, people stuck in process, when they can be working together to find better solutions and solving problems? And, the catchword for me today is add value, but really adding value, and then being able to coach others and really work in an environment that's conducive to learning.
Have you started to discuss adding the more bespoke and more tailored type of value, which is, company specific? So I'm sort of talking about the private language models now, where you're creating them on the inside of the four walls, so where you can do what you want in there because you don't have, the data leaking out to public instances. Do you see the benefit of those in your profession, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was a couple of weeks ago, a group of HR leaders, we all got together, and AI was one of our topics, and we're actually going to be exploring it further coming up. And one of the key takeaways from that was, not a lot of people understand what it is and how it can be used. but B, if you do have your own, will that create a confidence and a security for senior leaders who may not understand it either? And so you can start to really leverage it because it keeps learning, right?
Yes.
And if you're and if it becomes private to the organization, then imagine, the type of data that you could get really, really quickly out of it that can then influence business plans or customer strategies or people strategies.
Yeah, that's the power for me that, the HR private model, helps being part of an armada of models within the greater business that can help build out strategies, build out sales type functions and all those sorts of things. And even in your space, like the amount of data that you have about people as they come in and through the organization, whether they've had a good time or a bad time or whatever, and it can learn from that employee experience to create a better one for the next person down the track.
Yeah, and then leveraging it with other systems. So, most organisations of a decent size will have a human capital system where you're capturing that data, or they'll have a CRM where you're capturing, the customer data and then blending that together, and then, it becomes like a bit of a data warehouse that you can then get really tailored reports and all sorts of stuff. I think that's where the excitement should be. But I don't know if organisations know where to go, and they hear that and they get overwhelmed and go, oh my God, it's going to cost a fortune. We don't have the capability. Who's going to build it? Do we really want to share that? And all of those natural fears that people have about their own data.
Yep. So how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10 for what generative AI might do in your workspace?
Oh, I might be an 11.
Oh, look out. Well, it sounds like you were, I can say, an early adopter of it, and B, you're talking with industry and going outside of your normal, work function to go and find out more, which I think is a really positive thing. I'm going to give you the 11. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Because I sort of also feel that maybe within your field there might be, I don't know, maybe an over-indexing of that negativity around that fear element that you might have to overcome to really harness the power of this. So I think we need people such as yourself out there being, the champions of here. Let's try this. Let's be responsible at how we do try this, and let's let's understand what the benefits may be and how can we be better by using this technology.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that fear is the first point to try and tackle, and people have to play with it. And I think once they see some of those wins, then, they start to tell their own story, and then it manifests and it comes across, filters across the organisation, and then people are like, oh, it's actually not that scary. Well, we can have a go.
Maybe that's another role of your function, is to find ways to allow them to safely play in this little playground. It's like putting down the wood chips or whatever in the playgrounds for the kids.
Come to like a centre and
fall off the monkey bars and you'll be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I fell off a ladder at the weekend, so I shouldn't be joking about that. So no way. I've really loved your perspective, tackling those big issues around HR and Gen AI. It's been really great. So thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.